joined at the last part. Yeah, it was very nice. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. So we'll start reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa
Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Today we shall start with the new sutta, the Mahakassapa Sutta. Page number 12. So in this sutta, is anyone volunteered to translate this sutta? It's a short sutta, or you can translate one paragraph and give another one a chance. Anyone volunteered to translate?
Can I try, Bhante?
Okay.
Bhante?
The first paragraph there. Okay.
The first paragraph.
Yes.
Iwang me sutang
Yes.
ekamayang bagawa raja gahe wiharati weluwane kalanda ka niwape. Thus have I heard. One time the blessed one was dwelling at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Tenako pana samayena ayasma mahakasapo kito balhagilano. At that time, the venerable Mahakasapa was dwelling in the Pāļi cave. He is sick, afflicted, gravely ill. Atako ayasma Mahakasapo parena samayena tamha abada wuthasi. Then another time, the venerable Mahakasapa recovered from that sickness. Atako ayasmato Mahakasapasa tamha abada wuti tasa etada hosi. Yanunahang rajagahang pindaya pawiseyanti. The venerable Mahakasapa, who has recovered from that sickness, thought thus: it is good if I should enter the Rajagaha for alms.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very nicely translated. So the first sentence is very easy to understand. The accusative of time. And Rajagaha and Veluvana, I think last time we discussed Rajagaha is the close by. Veluvana, Kalandaka Nivapa is where the Buddha was actually living. Kalandaka Nivapa means it was one time he went to this land, which was a nice kind of a forest, and he was quite drunk. So then he fell into a sleep. His retinue also found that the king was asleep, so they started to wander in the grove. Grove. So suddenly a black snake came out of the den, and was Eti, who was living in a tree, wanted to save the king. So it appeared in the form of a squirrel and came near to the king and made a noise near his ears. Suddenly the king woke up and saw the snake, and the king got saved. So then the king thought, this squirrel saved my life. So then he gave food in that area and also made it a sanctuary. That's why this Kalandaka Nivapa story is explained in the commentaries. So Veluvana means it was considered as a bamboo grove according to the tradition. First, the grove was offered to the Buddha without the kutis, because the kutis were first offered by Seti in the Rajagaha. So then later on, the kutis were built inside the Veluvana. It was covered, it was surrounded by a 18, Ratana means 18 like cubits, 18 cubits high wall. And it was from outside, it was surrounded by bamboo trees. That's why it was called the Veluvana. Tenako Panasamena Ayasma Mahakasapo Pippali Guhayang Viharati Abadiko Dukkito Balhagilano. Again, Tena Samayana means instrumental of time. Then Pippali Guhayang is the locative case, is a feminine gender noun, Guha. He was living in the Pippali Guha, the Pippali tree. The commentary says it was in front of the cave. And he was sick, afflicted, and severely ill, greatly ill. So you can see that after the verb, also still we can have some nouns, right? After the verb can come in the middle, in the beginning, or at the end of a sentence. So Abadiko Dukkito Balagilano all shows what happened to Mahakassapa. Became sick, became afflicted by bodily pain, and also he was greatly ill. Then Atako Ayasma Mahakassapa Aparena Samayena Tamha Abada Vuttasi. So this Aparena Samayena also we can see this is instrumental of time at another time. So commentary states that when the Kassapa was very sick, Buddha approached him and gave the discourse called Bojjanga Sutta. Kassapa Bojjanga, we have preserved it in our traditions. So explaining the 7 Bojjangas. So listening to that, the Mahakassapa, Bojjanga Sutta, Mahakassapa's mind became very pleasant. So he got recovered from the sickness. That's called Tamha Abada Vuttasi. Vuttasi here is normally Vuttasi stands for standing from somewhere, emerging from something. Here, emerging from the sickness means recovering from the sickness. So if you recover from something, if you emerge from something, if you stand up from somewhere, that location case. If you emerge from a concentration attainment, that is written in ablative case. If you recover from a sickness, that is also written in ablative case. You stand up from somewhere, you are sitting, that is also written in ablative case. That's why it's Tamha Abada. The Abada is not nominative plural, it's ablative singular. Atako Ayasmato Mahakassapassa Tamha Abada Vuttitassa Etada Hosi. So here we need to know about a grammatical rule. So Etada Hosi. So when we have Etada Hosi, we normally translate this as Etang Ahosi. Right. So normally this Nigahita changes into Da, but philologically, if I explain philologically, it's Etad. Actually in Sanskrit is Etad. Etad plus Ahosi. So there is no change of Nigahita into Da. The D was already there. That's what normally this D, because in Pāļi we don't have nouns ending words ending in consonants unless the Nigahita. Sometimes in later traditions, in the commentary tradition, we find words ending in Ma, M. That is Nigahita we change into M as a consonant. So for example, when we do the reciting of Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi as novices, when we want to become a novice, we are supposed to recite the 3 refuges after our preceptor has said it. So there are 3 ways that we can do it. One is we recite the Buddhaṃ Saranam, Dhammaṃ Saranam, Sanghaṃ Saranam at once, like Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi. The preceptor says, and the novice to be recites it. That's normally the how it's given in Myanmar. When the precepts are given to lay people in Myanmar, they recite like that. The second way, in that case, you can end with Nigahita. You end with Nigahita. The second way is ending with Nigahita, but separately, like Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi. The novice to be also says Buddhaṃ Saranam Gacchāmi. So that's normally how precepts are given in Sri Lanka, even to lay people. Then third way is Buddhaṃ Saranam. gachami. Instead of nigahita, we end it ma. So this is seems to be a later addition, but contemporary languages when the Buddha was alive also had this nigahita endings. So we also cannot say that it's a later addition. So somehow in our traditions, in commentaries, it's written that this is the one word that nigahita changes into ending nigahita, a word ending in nigahita, the nigahita changes into ma. So normally we say all the noun, Pāļi doesn't have nouns ending in consonants except the nigahita. So therefore etad, when it is alone, it changes into ma, nigahita. Normally it changes into nigahita, right? This is normally, but that is when you talk about philological approach, the D which was already there according to Sanskrit appears when it is followed by a vowel. So this is the traditional explanation, nigahita changing into da, because etang is considered as the noun, but philologically this is how the grammarians would explain. It's not clear. Then we come into this point, etang hosi, etada hosi. Etada hosi normally shows that the literal meaning is that thought occurred to him. So when you say hoti, ahosi, hoti is the present tense, ahosi is the past tense. So if something becomes something, we also can call it hoti. If something exists, we can call it hoti. So here etang ahosi means such a thought occurs to him. This occurred to him. So this etang shows this occurred to him. What is this is the thought. Thought is written in the inverted commas. So this is the rule. Now when some thought occurs to someone, that the person to whom it occurs should be written in dative case. Normally it's dative, but some grammarians say it as genitive case. It doesn't matter, because in Pāļi, dative and genitive are identical, are ending masculine and neuter nouns. We have a special form called aya, ending in aya. Other than that, dative and genitive are identical. Personally, I prefer to call it the dative if it occurs to him. But some grammarians have explained, especially the Western grammarians, have explained it as the genitive case. Both are okay. So the thought, so normally we say this thought occurs to him. So this is the grammatical rule. I shall write in our lecture notes. The grammatical rule is, if a thought occurs to someone, the person to whom or in whom the thought has occurred is written in dative, some says genitive case, but it doesn't have any difference, because dative and genitive are identical forms in Pāļi. So this is the rule that comes. So if something occurs to the Buddha, buddhassa etada hosi, purisassa etada hosi. So if something is happening at the present time, purisassa etang hoti. Sorry. Then in future, purisassa etang bhavisati. So this thought will occur to him. This thought, present tense is discourse occurs to him. Future tense, this thought will occur to him. In these first two examples, these thoughts occurred to him. So this is the past tense. This is the last. This is the present tense. Future tense. So this is a grammatical rule that we have to consider. Right, another grammatical rule. When a thought has occurred to someone, that the person to whom that thought occurs is written in dative or genitive case. Any questions regarding this? Okay, so then I'll go to the next one. So then here, so you can say ayasmato koha kassa passa tamha abada buttitassa. So these all are written in genitive case or dative case. You can see this. Sorry. To him, to Mahakassapa, who recovered from that sickness. This thought occurred to him, occurred to Venerable Mahakassapa, who recovered from this sickness. So that's how we get the meaning. Ata means then. So Yannunahang. Yannunahang means this is divided as the Yannuna plus Ahang. Right? Yannuna plus Ahang. Ahang is I. It is good. It is good that Pavisaya. So when it comes with Yannuna, normally the verb is written in optative case. I think you know that cases: present tense, past tense, future tense, and present, past, future, optative, imperative. These are the most common 5 cases that are used. Past tense is threefold in Pali: Ajjatani, Ahiyatani, and Parokka. So we normally consider them all as past. Out of them, the Parokka, the last one, is very rare. It's quite rare. So past tense is twofold. We can only call it as past tense. So this is called optative. Optative means would. Normally we translate it as would, should, and so forth. There are a few many meanings of optative. To my knowledge, there are normally traditionally they have 11 meanings. My would that I, if I and we translate this as it would be good if I would enter Rajagahang. Pavisaya. Pavisati means enter. If I enter Rajagaha. Then we have another one in Pindaya. This is also very important. This word is quite important. Pindaya. This is normally we call dative of purpose. Dative of purpose. So Pindaya. So when we want to say, I think in the previous story sharing, we had this in the grammatical lesson. I mentioned this point. Dative of purpose. When we want to do some action, or when we are in need of, when we are doing something for the sake of something or some person, 2 meanings I mentioned. If I repeat again, if we are in need of, if we are doing something for the sake of something or someone, for the sake of something or someone, or if we are doing something for a certain action, if we have intended to do a certain action. So these 2 are can be written in dative case. We normally call this the dative of purpose. So if we go to the lecture notes, write this. Yeah. So dative of purpose can happen, for example, in action noun, with action nouns. Number 1 is with action nouns. Action noun means there are certain nouns that denotes an action. For example, like tarana. Tarana comes from tarati. Tar is the verb, root is tar, to cross. Tarana is the meaning of crossing. It's called an action noun. You can call it abstract noun also. Just the crossing, the ing form. It doesn't need, this is not the continuous form. It's not is crossing. The action of crossing. It's called action noun. So, for example, when the Buddha preaches Dhamma, we normally say Buddho Taranaya. Dhammang Deseti. Taranaya means crossing of the samsara ocean. Buddha preaches the portion of samsara, the floods of samsara, floods of defilements. So this, with action nouns, we use the dative case, right? Dative purpose with the action nouns. Sometimes it can be used with just a noun. Buddho, just nouns, right? For example, Buddho Hitaya Sukhaya Dhammang Deseti. Buddha preaches Dhamma for the sake of well-being, for the sake of happiness. So Hita and Sukha are just nouns. They don't have any action meaning. So if you do something for the sake of something or some person, we use this dative case. For example, Puriso, otherwise Iti, the lady, Agantukassa, Battang, Pachati, right? The lady, we can say, for example, Mata Pitunna, right? The lady cooks rice for her parents, Mata Pitunna. This is dative in plural, right? Dative plural. So if we make it very simple, the Agantukas Battang Pachati. So if you are doing some action, an action for the sake of someone or for the sake of something, that thing or person also can be written in dative case, right? Can be written in, this is called dative of purpose. So there are two things. This for the action nouns, dative of purpose. So this action noun. So when we use action noun in dative case, right? In action noun in dative case, this is equal. This is equal to infinitive. Means Taranaya. Instead of saying Buddho Taranaya Dhammang Deseti, Buddho Taritung Dhammang Deseti. Right? So it is equal to an infinitive word. This is another important point. So dative of purpose. Then, if you have any questions, you can get. I'm going to extend this grammatical rule further. If you have any questions, you can please raise it. Okay. So then this dative of purpose can be written, I think I have explained this in the story, with the morpheme atta. With the morpheme atta. So normally this can be, atta is the meaning, right? But here it seems like we get the meaning when we connect it for the sake of, right? Even without this atta, the meaning is for the sake of. So even though we add the atta or not, this meaning has no difference. So dative of purpose can be just written as the in the dative case, but with atta. For example, Buddho Taranatthang, Taranathaya Dhammang Deseti. Then also we can say Buddho Sukhathaya. Dhammang Deseti. This Aya, another point, dative was Aya. Sometimes it normally dative ends with Issa, right? Issa, and sometimes in no. So these are the dative cases. But in the R ending nouns, right? R ending nouns, we have an ending called Aya. If you are familiar with the declensions, we have Buddhassa, Buddhaya, Buddhana. This Aya is not found in genitive case. It's exclusive to the dative case, and it's also exclusive to the nominative, masculine and neuter gender R ending nouns, not E or U ending nouns, R ending nouns. So that's why this Aya is used. Taranaya, Dhamman Deseti, Sukhaya, Dhamman Deseti. But you can use this Taranasa, you can use Taranasa, Sukhasa, Dhamman Deseti. It's possible. You can use whatever dative case is there, right? So, but with Atta, we can say Taranatassa, Sukhatassa. We can use it, but it's all mostly it is we can found with the Aya when it comes to the nominate and. So normally it the given is the Aya form of dative case. So this is the third point. The fourth point is, so with the morpheme Atta, sometimes the dative case ends with being for example, Buddho Taranathang with a nigahita. You can see this Aya has become ang, right? Philologically, it's not easy to explain what has happened here, but this is also one. So in some declensions that some Theras has given, this also comes in the A ending nouns. So instead of giving Buddhassa, Buddhaya, also they add Buddhatang, Uttang. This also as a dative suffix. So Buddho Taranatang Dhammang Deseti. And then we can also have Buddho Sukhatang Dhammang Deseti. Right? Sukhatang. So we can see now 4 points. Actually, the first one and second one are the main points. Dative of purpose. We have with action nouns, just with nouns, then with the morpheme Atta, and with the morpheme Atta changing into a tongue, right? Changing into a tongue, right? Says it's a new suffix. I think it's Attaya has changed into a tongue. Feel like that. So anyway, you can find this. So this means you are doing a certain action for the sake of your action is done for the sake of another action. For example, here the action of preaching was done for the action of crossing of the disciples. Then you are doing a certain action for the sake of someone or for something. Maybe attainment, maybe the happiness, maybe the suffering, or maybe for some person. So dative is not only giving something to someone, it's for the purpose also. It can be used for the sake of someone, for the sake of something, or for some action. So this is the grammatical point I want to discuss. Do you have any questions?
Bhante?
Yes.
Like the fourth point, Bhante, the Attang ending, Bhante. Is it quite common, Bhante?
Yeah. Yes, it's quite common. In Gathas, it's very common. Very, very common.
Okay.
Sometimes, okay, another point, this is very rarely for the students who are Pāļi. Sometimes this Attan changes to Atta. tha. You can find this in gathas. This example is Nako Ayang, this is in the Jataka story. Mana Boja Ilodano Ohiti Sadhu Pakko. Right? So here means, it's a complicated sentence for some students. Tilodana means, Odana is something called, something which is cooked, some curry, some sort of a rice. Tilodana means, tila here is one kind of grain. Hohiti is a future tense. Bhavisati. It's a future tense. Hissati. It comes from ho. Hohiti, hissati, hohisati, and all this. Future tense. Sadhu pakko means well cooked. This rice will not be is well cooked. Right? This rice will be well cooked. And this na comes. It's na connects with bojanatta. This rice will be well cooked, not for the sake of eating. Bojana is eating. Bunjati is eating, to eat. Bojana is the act of eating. Bojana is act of eating. Bunjati is the verb of to eat. Right? Like tarana is the act of crossing. So likewise, bojana is the act of eating. It's not, brahmana is the vocative case. Ayang is this. So this rice will be well cooked, not for the sake of eating. So instead of bojanathaya or bojanathang, it ended up in bojanatha. Right? It ended up in bojanatha. So this is another point that Aya has. So these all are the 5. This one is mostly found in gathas. So these are the 5 points that, to my knowledge, these are the 5 places that we can find the dative of surplus. Right? I personally feel this comes from attaya, so that's why I gave it as atta. So we can see these all changes. This number 4 is by some teachers, modern traditional teachers. Attang, they take it as a dative suffix, some. Right? So here atta is a morpheme. It changes into aya. Aya is the dative ending suffix. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Robin, I interrupted. Sorry, I interrupted you with the question. Yes.
Yes, Bhante. So it's quite clear, Bhante. And another point, Bhante, is the nigahita ending for showing dative only occur in the word atta, Bhante, or is it occur in another word as well?
You mean dative ending one?
Dative ending with that nigahita.
You mean the dative case, right?
Yes.
In atta. But atta means it can be connected to any noun. Buddhatang,
Yes.
Even ittatang. Even it can be connected to any kind of a noun.
Okay,
it's an
Bhante.
addition.
Okay, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, I have a question regarding the first point. So when we want to say something for the doing something, if it is written with infinitive in the sentence, so infinitive can take an object. So if it's written with dative, can it take an object? And which case?
Then if,
and in which case?
Yes. It's a very good question. So I shall be discussing this detail in another lecture. So now we have to open another new note for that. Here we talk about when you are talking about the action nouns, right? So in the example, vachana is Pachana is cooking. I hope everyone can understand this action noun meaning. It's the act of cooking. It's not the continuous form of cooking. It's not is cooking. It's the act of cooking. Tarana is crossing. Desana. Desana. Okay, Desana can lead to some confusion. We can choose another one. Gamana. Going. Right. Desana is also possible, but it's a future. It's feminine gender. Preaching. Right. Desana has two meanings: the preaching itself and also the discourse can also be called. So these are action nouns. Now the action nouns of the action nouns, the object, the subject. Because I used to mention the infinitive can have a object, right? Infinitive should have a subject also. So in the action noun, the subject is written in genitive case. So for example, if we, and then object is written either in genitive or accusative case, right? So subject, so it's a very good question. Thank you for that. So this is the rule for the action nouns. So if we extend this sentence that we mentioned, Buddho Taranaya Dhamman Desiti, right? So Buddha doesn't preach Dhamma for his own crossing. So we have to add, we have to extend the sentence, Buddho Savakanang, because it's the genitive case, plural. Subject, because the ones who are crossing. So if you think about this, Buddha is the preacher of this Dhamma. Who is crossing? For the crossing of the disciples, for the ocean of samsara. So Taranaya has its own subject and own object. Buddha is not the one who is crossing. So if you use the causative form, the structure will be different. Buddho Tarapanaya or Taranaya, we have to change it, right? So if we end this, Buddho Savakanam Sansarogang Oga. You can see Sansara Oga. Sansara plus Oga. You remember Oga is flood, right? Or Kiles Oga. We can Sansara Oga, or we can, it's better to say Kiles Oga, otherwise yeah, it's easy to understand. Kiles Ogang. Kiles, right? We have four types of Oga. Kiles Oga, Ogang, Tara, Naya, Dhammang, Deseti, right? So instead of saying Kiles Ogang, right, we can also mention Kile So Gasa, right? So here, Savakanam Kile So Gasa Taranaya Dhamman Deseti. Kile Sogan Taranaya Dhamman Deseti. Because the nominal subject can be written in, normally it's written in the genitive case. The object is written in the genitive or accusative case, right? So it has to be written like that. Is it clear?
Thank you, Bhante. It's very clear.
Hi, Bhante.
Also.
Hello.
Yes, Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah, hello.
About that. So, is it going to cause any confusion if both the subject and the object of the action noun to be written in the genitive case, maybe?
Yes, it's another good question. Thank you. In such cases, what I've noticed is if the subject is mentioned of the action noun, we normally write the object in accusative case. So we can use the accusative case. Grammatically, even you use the genitive case is not wrong. But normally, if the subject is mentioned in genitive case, to avoid the confusion, as you said, we use the accusative case for the object.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
So then we move to the sutta, the second part. Any other volunteer to translate the sutta, the last part?
Bhante, can I try?
I'll prefer. Sure.
Tenako panasamayena panchamathani devatasatani usukhang apanani hondi ayasmato mahakasabas bingdabata badilabaya adago ayasma mahakasabo thani panchamathani devadasatani titikipitwa pupanhasamayang nivasetwa Patajivaram Mataya Lajakahang Bingdaya Babisi. But I don't understand the word Banja Matani. Matani means what?
About.
About
About
okay.
500. Panchamatani Devatasatani.
Okay. At that time, there were about 500 deities who were eager to offer Venerable Mahakassapa to receive alms food. Then Venerable Mahakassapa rejected those 500 deities in the morning after having taken clothes and bowl. He entered alms food in the city of Lajagaha.
He entered 4 alms food, right?
Entered 4 alms food. 22. Okay. Ye kapana visika, pesakara visika. This I don't understand this part.
Jena, please translate as where. No, just translate. He entered this Rajagaha for alms food, where the Dalit Visika, the street of the poor people, the Kapana Visika, the street of that also poor people. There's a little bit slight difference. Then Pesakara Visika, the street of the weavers.
Oh.
Right. Then Adasako Bhagava.
Adasako Bhagava Ayas Mandang Mahakasabang Lachakahe Bingdaya Jarandang Yena Tarita Visika Karana Visika Pesaka Visika.
Kapana Visika. Kapana Visika and Pesakara Visika.
I don't.
Please translate.
Adasa means seeing.
Yeah. Adasa means saw.
But who saw the Mahakassapa?
Right. Bhagava saw.
Okay.
Bhagava is the subject, right?
Okay. The Buddha saw Venerable Mahakassapa walking in city of Lajakaha for alms food.
Yeah.
Where the city was where the street was of the poor people, of the weavers. Where the streets were many poor people and many weavers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. That's much better. Thank you very much. Okay. So yeah, here we come into the first sentence. Tenako Panasamena. It's clear. Panchamatani, because this is quite confusing. It's not confusing. It's the way of style in Pāļi. So 5. Pancha is 5. Matta is about another kind of we can say amount, right? So when we have matta, we don't say exactly. It's about, right? Around. Also shows that the amount of people, right? About. So we'll just write the word about. Devata is devas, right? 100. So this is how it comes. So 5 about devas, hundreds, if you translate word by word. So this is equal, changed into 5 into 5. About 5 into 500 devas. This is how we get the meaning. About 500 devas. So this is how it is written in Pāļi. Chaturasiti Pana Sahasani. Chaturasiti Pana Sahasani. Chaturasiti means 84. 84. Pana Sahasani. Chaturasiti Pana Sahasani. So 84 beans 1000. So beans you have to get at the end. 84 and 1000 should be connected. 84 into 1000 beans. So 84. So here also pancha. If Mathani, if you we can say pancha devata satan. 5 deva 100. So it will be 500 devas. That's a way of writing in Pāļi. So in this regard, I'd like to discuss some points. For the lecture notes. So when we say pancha sata, right? Pancha sata or atta sata or pancha sata numbers. Pancha sata, right? This has 5 and 100, right? So we have 5 and 100. This can be either this can be 5 into 100 or 5 plus 100. So it's really confusing in that sense. Panchasata can be 500 or it can be 105. So how to get rid of this confusion? There is no way other than a commentarial explanation, right? But in later traditions, we find that just a moment. In some traditions, in later on, to avoid this confusion, when we want to say 105, for instance, right, 105, we use another 2 ways. Panchadika sata. Panchadika means adhika means more than 100 more than 5, 100 with more than another 5, right? Or we say Panchuttara Sata, also more than, right? So if we say Panchadika Sata and Panchuttara Sata, this means Pancha Adhika or Uttara. Adhika Uttara is plus Sata, right? So Panchadika Sata and Panchuttara Sata is always 105. But when we say Panchasata, we can have 2 meanings, 500 or 105. That is a confusion that we cannot solve. So when we say Attasata, it can be 108 or it can be 800. So most of the cases, Attasata is used to denote 108. Panchasata is denoted to refer 500. So that is the confusion that we get. So it's very difficult to find out what it is. The commentaries normally say to get exactly, we go into the commentarial explanations, right? So Pancha, for example, another example, Chatura Siti. Chatura Siti is 84. Pana Sahas Chatura Siti is 84 plus Pana is beans, living beings. Then we have 1000, right? So this is how the words are formed. But the meaning should be taken 84 into 1,000 living beings. So this is a point regarding the numbers. It comes with the experience. When you keep on reading, we'll get used to understand these sort of tricky points mentioned in the Pāļi. So Tenako Panasamena Panchamattani Devata Satani, about 500 deities. Usukkang apannani honti. Usukkang apannani means this is two nouns. Instead of saying usukkang apannani, we can use one word, usukkati, usukkins or something like that. So here is like, I'll explain this later in another lecture about, I'll take some time to this point. Usukkang, now we use like a certain usukkang is another kind of abstract noun. It shows about a quality. Apannani means you come into that quality. Usukka is the effort. Apannani is you approach it, you fall into it, you attain it. So attaining the effort means you become strenuous, like effortful. So instead of saying it in one word, in Pāļi sometimes we use two words like that. Usukkang apannani honti means they became eager or effortful. So they strived for what? Ayasmato mahakassapassa pindapata patilabha. Patilabha is a action noun. Labati is the labati is to obtain. Labha is the obtaining. Obtaining of pindapata. When we say patilabha, the subject, the patilabha, the subject of patilabha is Mahakassapa. He is the one who gets. Then object of patilabha is pindapata. But here, pindapata and patilabha are connected as a samasa, compound noun. So therefore, we don't see the accusative or genitive case here. So if we divide this pindapata patilabha into two nouns, we should extend the samasa, divide the samasa, pindapata patilabha. We can have two definitions. Pindapatassa patilabho, because it should be written in nominative case, or pindapatang patilabho, right? So pindapatassa patilabho, pindapatang patilabho. These are the extension of the samasa pindapata patilabha. But in this sentence, patilabha is action noun, obtaining. The object is pindapata, but since it is compound with the patilabha, we don't see the accusative or genitive case. Mahakassapa is subject, so it's written in the genitive. Ayasmato also genitive case of ayasma. Right. So then, atako then the ayasma mahakassapa tani manjamatani devata satani patikipita, having rejected these deities. Ubbanna samaya nivasetva, during the morning, at one time in the morning, he having dressed nivasetva, right? Having dressed. Patta chivara madaya. So here patta chivara madaya is divided as patta chivarang plus adaya. Patta chivarang adaya. Having taken the ball and the robes, rajagahang pindaya pavasi. Pavasi means entered into rajagaha. Yena dalidda visika, kapanak visika, pesaka. Where the dalidda visika, the poor ones street, kapana visika also, and pesaka are the street of the weavers. The commander said dalidda visika is the street where most of the poor people lived. Kapana visika is the street where the people who were previously rich, they lost their money, so they are called kapana. Kapana is the ones who had money. Whatever reason, they have lost it, so they are called kapana. Then Pesakara Visika is the one, the weavers, street of the weavers. So where there is, now you can see the yena and tena, where the Dalida Visika, Kapana Visika, Pesakara Visika. So he entered the Rajagaha and where he was going for Pindapata, where these streets were. So Pindaya Pāvisi, this is the purpose, the dative of purpose. So why did he enter Rajagaha? Because of the for the Pindapata, right? Because of the Pindapata. So if you look at this sentence, here we have a gerund, patikapitva. With the gerund, the sentence is divided. Atako asma mahakasapo tani panchamattani devatasani patikapitva. Right? Then we have another gerund, nivasetva. Patta chivaram adaya. Here also, ada, right? Ada is a, I'll take a few more minutes. Sorry for that. Adaya, Rajagam, Pindaya, Pāv. This is the verb. This is how the sentence is divided, as we discussed in the first lecture. So now, Patikapitva. What is the object of Patikapitva? Who he rejected? Panchamattani Devata Satani. 500 female deities. So Mahakasapa is the subject. Then Nivasetva, having dressed. What did he having dressed? So what did he dress? The robes, and also the time he dressed, the Pubbana Samaya. So here, what he dressed is not mentioned, because he was already, means the comment says he was already wearing robes as a monk, and he tightened the robes because he wanted to go into the village. So this is the time of the action. So Pubbana Samaya Nivasetva. Right? This Pubbana Samaya has no relationship with Patikapitva. Right? Then Panchamat Adaya, having taken. What did he take? It's connected with Pattachiva, having taken the ball and robes. Pāvisi entered, it's connected with these two nouns, Rajagahang and he entered the Rajagaha for the purpose of Pindapata. So now we have to, because I didn't mention this in the previous sentences. So here we can find the sentence is divided into few parts because of the gerund, because of the, so normally sentence is divided because of gerund, infinitive, participle, and then we have with the first one, gerund, infinitive, present and past participle, case. So then where the these streets were. Then Addasako Bhagava Ayasmanta Mahakasapan Rajagahe Pindaya Charantan Yen Dalit Divisika, Kapana Visika, Pesaka. Then the blessed one saw Venerable Mahakasapa, right, who was wandering in Rajagaha for alms, where the streets of the poor and weavers were. So here also, if we analyze the sentence, Addasa is the verb. There is no gerund here, no infinitive, but we have a participle, present participle, charanta. Right? We have present participle. Now we can analyze the sentence. Addasa. The subject of the Addasa is the Bhagava. Bhagava so. What is the object of Addasa? So there are few types of, what is the object of Ajata? Addasa object is Ayasmanta Mahakasapa. Mahakasapa was the object. Who was traveling? Charantang. So he saw Venerable Mahakasapa who was traveling. They all are connected. Charantang is connected to Mahakasapa and Ayasmanta because he saw Venerable Mahakasapa who was traveling. But this Charantang also has his own object. Right? Object and also dative and all of this. So Addasa is not connected with Pindaya or Rajagaha. Buddha didn't see Rajagaha. Buddha didn't see for the sake of Pindapata. So he was traveling in Rajagaha. So the Rajagaha is connected with Charanta. Pindaya, why was he traveling? Why was he wandering? For the sake of alms work. So therefore, when you divide the sentence into such with such words, you can easily analyze. Addasa, the blessed one. So whom did he say? Ayasmanta Mahakasapang, Mahakasapa. Then this Charanta is also connected to Mahakasapa because it is the same person who was traveling, right? Who was traveling. Then this Charanta, as it is an past participle, present participle, it has its own verb, own subject, object, verb, and all this. So Charantang, this object is not mentioned here. On the locative is mentioned. Rajagahi, Vesaikal Ada, the space where he was traveling, the city of Rajagaha, and the purpose of his action, Pindaya. If I ask a question, what is the subject of this Charantang? Charantang subject is Mahakasapa, but that one is not written in a certain specific case because here Ayasmanta Mahakasapang. What I'm asking Charanta means the act of wandering. Who was wandering? It was Mahakasapa. So even though grammatically we cannot show a case ending related to this subject subject of this charanta. Meaning-wise, we know the wandering was done by Venerable Mahakassapa. If someone asks the question, what is the subject of this charanta? We have to answer it as Mahakassapa. And where the streets were. Then the Atako Bhagava Etamattam Viditva Tayam Velayang Imang Udānang Udānesi. We'll conclude the lecture with this. So here we have one verb and a gerund. Viditva, having known, Udānesi. So what he has known, Etamattam. So this information, what did he see? He saw Venerable Mahakassapa rejecting the deities and going for almsfood in the poor streets, right, Bhagava. So this is what he knew. So Udānesi, Etamattang and Udānesi has no connection. Etamattang and Viditva are connected. Udānesi uttered. What did he utter? The utterance, Udāna. He uttered the utterance. Imang, this utterance, which is going to follow. Which time? Tayang Velaya, at that time. Right, then the Blessed One. Having known this information, having known this incident of Venerable Mahakassapa uttered this utterance, and it says about who is a real Brahman. Yeah, so these are the points that I want to discuss. Some few advanced points to discuss. If you have any questions, one or two questions.
Hi, Bhante. I have a question, but you kind of touched on it, but I still want to know a little bit more about this. This related to the two actions, Niwasetor and Pattajiwara Madhya. So I also look into the commentaries, and I would love to know what the reasoning of these two actions. So Niwasetor means he gets dressed, so which means he had to dress with some ropes. But then later on, he's carrying some ropes. So I'm wondering which one he's carrying, which one he's dressing. So, and then I looked into the commentary, didn't say much. So based on the experience, do you have any insight into these?
Thank you, Doctor, for this question. It's actually Nivaseti. Nivasana is mainly for the underrobe. Nivasana is the underrobe. So when we say Nivasetva, he tightened the underrobe, having wear the belt, right? Then what happened in those days, this is not followed these days, because he lived in a forest. So normally you wear because when you go for Pindapata, you have to fully dress, right? So you have to cover both shoulders and go like you have seen in Myanmar. So monks used to carry the robes in their hands till they go to the edge of the forest. They don't wear it from the forest itself. So take the ball, take the robes in their hands, and then they go to the vicinity of the village. Before they enter the village, they wear the robes near under a tree or somewhere. Then they enter the village. So that's why they say they have taken the robes and the ball. Nivasetta means they tied the underrobe, and maybe there was some kind of a cloth, the upper cloth that you have seen the Myanmar monks wearing, some like something to cover the upper robe, or it was the upper robe he was wearing, the double robe he was carrying. Then the thing is, monks used to completely wear the robe before they enter the village, that is at the edge of the forest or at the edge of the, mostly at the edge of the forest. So that's why, as you said, Nivasetva is for the underrobe, and also for maybe for the upper robe for some monks. And then Pattachivaradai means the two-layer robe and the ball. And having gone to the edge of the forest, they wear all together. You have to wear all the three robes together before you enter the Pindapata.
I see. Okay, thank you so much, Bhante.
Bhante,
Yes.
For the word Pindapata Patilapaya, Bhante mentioned this one is an action now. And the reason we can detect this word easily because we find the subject in dative case. But for the word Pattachiwara Madhya, is the ending case also looks so much the same as the action now. So in this case, for us not to say this one as an action now, so we have to find the one subject in dative case, But in this sentence, we cannot find any subject in dative case, so we assume this Batichiwara Mandarya is gerund, right?
No, it's not in that way. One thing is in your question, action nouns are not only written in dative case. That's the first thing. Action noun is not to be used in dative case only. Dative case can be used with action nouns to denote the purpose. Action nouns can be used in any case, in all the 7 cases. Then the next question, Adaya. Adaya is a gerund form because some gerunds end with ya. Some gerund forms end with ya. So that is why the root is da. So it becomes adaya. So there is normally gerund form is twa, twana, sometimes ya. So that it's not because there is no subject or anything. We directly know that this is a gerund form. Did you get my point? It's not a dative case. When we know the gerund forms, we know there is a gerund ending in ya. So Adaya is a very famous gerund form, having taken.
Well, because Batachiwara Adaya here is so easy. Everybody's so familiar with this word. So when we see this, we know immediately this is gerund. But I mean, in another case, also the ending with the aya. So in this case, we'll have to like reconsider whether it is an action now or it's a gerund. That's what I mean.
Sometimes maybe, but most of the cases when Ada is there, it's easy to guess on that. Very easy. But sometimes, as you said, there can be some confusion. So in that case, we have to closely analyze. Yes, I got your point.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, then shall we call it a day?
Okay, Bhante, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you so much, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Charlie.
Sadhu Bhante.
Thank you very much, Sharon.